Welcome to another session of Just Meee podcast. And today we are joined by the amazing Becky Adlington OBE. So Becky, over to you. How did it all start regarding kind of swimming? When was the first time you kind of thought, yeah, I'm just going to get in a pool and swim up and down?
To be fair, it wasn't me because I was dead little. It was my parents. So I've got two older sisters. So both of them two could obviously fully swim by the time I came along. And I think when you grow up in a small town, there isn't an abundance of stuff to do like as kids. There wasn't the option then of what kids have now. I mean, my kids do every activity under the sun, and you think, gosh, I didn't have this choice when I was growing up. So swimming, we live around the corner. We could walk to the pool from our literally. It took 5 minutes to walk to the pool from where we lived. So it was just something that, the whole family did, and we did as a family activity, as well as my parents put me in lessons. It was just for safety more than anything else. My mum and dad were very conscious if we go away or near water, etc., that all of us could swim. They were just quite passionate about. It's a life skill. Our kids must be able to swim, which was great.
Wow. And then at what age were you where somebody kind of went, oh, hang on a minute, she's quite good?
So swimming doesn't really work like that. And that's where it's quite tricky, because a lot of other sports you will get scouted or talent ID'd or whatever you want to class it as. Whereas swimming, it's really, really difficult because everybody develops at different ages. It's such a young sport, but also we have huge drop-off rates in the sport as well. So normally girls tend to be a little bit younger when they peak at swimming than boys. But it was more a case of, because of the drop-off rates, obviously, and because it's the Olympics, you're not getting scouted for Man U, Arsenal, all these different teams. It's very niche, so nobody really comes along and spots you, if you like. You just start making teams, and to be honest, it's only then, once you've made a couple of teams, that maybe you'll get put on funding depending on your results, etc. So nobody really kind of scouts you out in that sense, or points you out and goes, oh, I think this girl's going to be really good. So it's just works a little bit different. I mean, it might do now. It's probably significantly changed since when I was in the sport, but nobody's really spotting that. And I guess it's just because the Olympics, they're every 4 years. Anything could happen. You could get ill, injured, anything. So it's just kind of not spotted the same.
And then at the point where somebody kind of, you're in a team and somebody kind of thought, she's good, we're going to put her forward to, the national team and all the rest of it. Did you ever have that in your mind? Was it something you kind of went, oh yeah, I'd love to swim internationally or get a medal?
You're so young that you don't really realise, because you're just in it and you're just going through the motions, to be honest. My parents did take me. I was lucky enough that the Commonwealth Games, Manchester had Commonwealth Games in 2002. And I was really lucky because my parents got us tickets. And it was amazing because that was the first real swimming competition I had properly seen, that was not just normal competitions, that were like a proper international, if you like. And I remember being sat in the stands thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so good. And seeing these pro swimmers and just really loving that atmosphere. Because normally when you go to swim meets in this country, it's just people's parents that come and watch, which is fab. And everyone cheers and claps and whatever. But there's no spectators that go. Like, most people in the local vicinity don't know it's happening. So it just tends to be family and friends that are in the stands. So it was nice to go to a competition where there was loads of other people. That was really good.
So after you went to the Olympics, you've got 2 golds, you got 2 bronzes. I mean, did you at any point kind of think that was going to happen? I mean, obviously, because you're in a competition, you kind of might win. But did you in your wildest dreams kind of think, come on, Becky, we can do this?
Not really, only because my journey was very, very different. I mean, you look at somebody like Adam Peaty, and he's just done this amazing stepping stone of events and just been absolutely amazing. Whereas I had glandular fever, post-viral fatigue, my sister had encephalitis. I had all this stuff when I was around 15. So when I was meant to be kind of on that stepping stone of gaining a bit of experience, going to a Commonwealth Games, all this sort of stuff, I was kind of plagued with illness. So Beijing was really the first proper meet that like put me on the world stage, if you like. So it was kind of a little bit bizarre that it was, it was just happened all backwards, I guess, but in a beautiful sense, and one that I wouldn't change at all. But you just never know with sport as well. I think it was one of those, I think you quickly learn being part of sport that anything happens and you can wake up the day of your race and just feel off. And that is just part and parcel of sport. Like you could have trained 4 years, done everything possible, and then on the day it's just your stomach's off, or you feel like you've got a cough and a cold. Like it's something so basic that you're like, so you don't ever, I didn't truly ever believe that was possible. And especially being from a small town, I think when you grow up in a small town, your beliefs and everything are probably a little bit different. You don't believe that it's going to happen to you and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, I never thought like this girl from Mansfield was going to get an Olympic medal. It just, it didn't cross my mind.
And then when you won the first gold, I mean, I always remember you hitting the wall and kind of looking up and just, in complete stardom. And didn't you? I mean, it was just like an amazing thing. But what did you feel inside? You must have been like an exploding rocket inside.
It's so bizarre, isn't it? Because I think you think about people joke all the time, what would you do if you won the lottery? What would you do if you won an Olympic gold medal? What would you do with this? And you think of all these scenarios where you're like, oh my God, I'd be like screaming and going crazy and all this sort of stuff. And then it happens and you go, well, you're exhausted. So you're trying to catch your breath. So you're firstly going, and then there's so much shock that I think because there was, certainly for myself, I didn't expect to win, especially my first one. The race was so close and everything else that it was just, I almost didn't believe it. And because the scoreboard's quite far down the bottom end, I was kind of like, am I reading this right? You just kind of have almost this disbelief moment. And then you're trying to get your process what just happened whilst trying to catch your breath. Then you kind of congratulate, my best friend was in the race as well, so I was congratulating her. Then you get a microphone shoved in your face and a camera and all this sort of stuff. So you don't even really have time to process any sort of emotion because it's just a whirlwind then of just stuff. You don't have time to go crazy or be like, oh my God, because it's literally like media, podium, right, swim down, right, physio, right, get some food, right, refocus because you've got another event coming up and you're a bit like, So it's definitely different, but one that was just, I would say the overwhelming emotion was just shock because I was just so surprised. I just couldn't believe it. And I just almost kept pinching myself going, is this real? So that was probably the overriding emotion. And of course, joy and happiness. That comes next once you kind of go, oh, it is real. Oh, I did win. Oh, they are going to give me the gold medal. Are they sure they're going to give me the gold medal? And then when they do, you go, okay, like this is happening. And it's just, crazy.
And did you wake up the next morning and did you wake up and kind of go, hang on, I have this thing.
I kind of did, but didn't because I had another race to come.
Yeah.
It was so hard because you just have to refocus. You kind of can't get swept up in it. So you wake up and you take that confidence. And I think it's important that you do take that confidence going, okay, I know I'm swimming well and I'll use that. But at the same time, it's like my job's not done. I've got to refocus. I've got to kind of sharpen. I can't get swept up in that. I've got to just stay in the zone, if you like. I've got to prepare. So it's kind of a funny one because you are in this kind of, well, it's so amazing, but I've got another race to come.
And how by winning that first race and being at Beijing, because it's a massive thing, as you say, for the girl from Mansfield, how did that reshape and reframe you as a person?
Oh, I mean, significantly. It was just your whole entire life changes. I remember my coach saying to me, Becky, you're double Olympic champion, your life's going to change. And I absolutely laughed in his face because I was like, what are you talking about? Why is my life going to change? And I just didn't believe him at all because I wasn't retiring from the sport. I was still carrying on. So I was kind of like, in my head, I'm like, well, what's different? I'm still going to get up at 5 a.m. and go training every day. So what is different? And the actual principles of your routine of life don't change. Of course, my routine was still exactly the same. Still waking up, still going training, still have the same coach, same teammate, same everything else. So in that sense, nothing changes. But actually, everything changes when you go from being the underdog to having a target on your back and you're the one everyone's chasing down, and it's just different. And then this whole other world where the media want to talk to you, and there's all these different other things outside things that happen, sponsors and different opportunities of work and things like that you go, oh, and they took a long time to get my head round. I didn't even have like a manager or anything when I went to Beijing, so it was one of those that I quickly found somebody that then could help with all of that sort of stuff. But it was just, yeah, it's a bit of a minefield.
Wow. I've got to ask you this question. So when you're swimming up and down the pool, because you must have done millions and millions of lengths, what do you think about?
It's different every time. If you're in a race, you are so in the zone and so concentrating, and
Completely locked in.
you're completely locked in. Everything is, you're thinking about every single element. Is my elbow up? Am I breathing right? Am I going fast enough? Do I need to pick it up? Do I need to, like, everything is just race. In training, of course, that's not the case. Like, if you're on a recovery session, for example, because we used to swim 10 sessions a week. Not all of them was hammer it. Sometimes you had a technique session, what we would class as a recovery session, like going for an easy run. And that one, your mind would completely wander. I have sang, I've thought about what I'm going to have for tea. I once counted all the tiles on the bottom of the pool, just because it was just, why not? Your coach tries to ask you silly little quiz games to keep it fun and entertaining and all this sort of stuff. So it's so varied depending on what you're doing, because you've got to keep it fun. You've got to keep it like a little bit different. It's not physically possible to be in the zone 24/7. It's just, your mind is going to wander at times. So yeah, it depends on the situation, but a lot of the time, yeah, you're just in your own little world.
Oh, lovely. And in terms of, like you say, sort of 10 sessions a week, how long would you typically swim for in terms of time, but also in terms of distance on some of those?
Yeah, so for myself, they were all 2 hours long. So every swim session was around 2.5. You do gym on top of that. I would swim around at least 70,000 meters a week. That was kind of always that target, was 70,000 as a distance swimmer. Obviously, sprint, everyone's different, but as a distance swimmer, that was kind of like the minimum benchmark that I would need to do. So yeah, it was just always different. And then you'd have competitions on top of that. So if I was competing at the weekend, that would go on top of the training element.
Wow. And in terms of life after the podium, I mean, you mentioned in the Sunday Times article a few weeks ago that post COVID, your income was nowhere near what it was like pre COVID.
Yeah.
So, what sort of changed in terms of, your focus from being a competitive swimmer to now being, a person who is not a competitive swimmer?
Yeah. And I think that's where it shifted. I obviously, at the height of my career, I was very, very, very fortunate to have home Olympics. Not many athletes get a home Olympics at the time that they're competing. So I appreciate I was in a very niche little bubble of not only having an Olympics, but having a home Olympics. So of course, there was more opportunities for sponsorships, for work, to earn money because of a home Olympics. After a home Olympics, I kind of probably spent, even though I was setting up a business and things like that, I wasn't full time in my business. So for that stage, there was kind of this period of probably 5 or 6 years where I was doing things like MasterChef, The Jump, I'm a Celeb, where I'd say yes to different. I kind of said to myself, just throw myself at loads of different things to find out what I was good at, to find out what I liked, to kind of just discover who I was rather than a swimmer. So that kind of period was kind of a funny one. And then getting into my business properly, it was like I just had that. I'd had my first child, Summer, and I kind of just wanted to get back into routine. As an athlete, everything was so routine based. And then you finish swimming, and I had no routine. Every week was something different. And I really craved getting back into some sort of normality, especially when you've got kids, because you need that stability and you need to be organized and know everything with childcare and everything else. So kind of started from part-time going, I moved to full-time in my business, but obviously that, yes, you've got a more steady income of salary, but you don't earn the same, because I wasn't having, I doubt, people always say to me, oh, when are you next going to be on telly? And I'm like, I'm not. I don't do anything like that anymore. My life is so taken up by family and my work. I don't have time. So I don't have time to go off and do other things as much. So of course that changes your income wise, but at the same time I love doing what I do. So it kind of doesn't really matter. You live to your means, don't you? So it just changed, and obviously we've got the kids and everything else, and we're just steady with work now. So it's just normal life.
Wow. And how did the concept of swim come about?
Swim, well, we tried. I mean, my business partner Steve set up the business actually before London, so I had done a few things with him, few events and few whatever. I knew him from swimming. He was kind of started on a bit of a journey, and then I got in touch after London Olympics. I was like, I really want to do my own learn swim program, and straight away I was like, the only person to do it with is Steve Parry. I was like, he is absolutely the man that just totally aligns with everything that I want for the whole industry. So I sat down with Steve and I was like, can we create a learn swim program together? And he was like, yeah. So it kind of was born after London. But like I said, I was part-time. It was mainly Steve doing stuff with the team. I was just checking in part-time. And then from around 2017, 2018 sort of time, that's when swim grew, and creating our own centres, building our own pools, where I was like, okay, this is something different. This is special. And then around COVID time, we completely rebranded pretty much all the business to align with swim. Because before we've been so many different names. We've been Total Swimming, we've been Total Swimming Academies, Becky Adlington Swim Stars, all this sort of stuff. So now we're just swim. We've kept it so not original, not very unique with swim. Didn't take a lot to come up with that one, did it? But it just makes sense. And now everything's under one umbrella. And we're just so passionate about changing the landscape of swimming in this country that we're not going to force government to do it or force anyone else to do it. We've kind of just taken it into our own hands and gone, you know what, we need to offer something bigger, better and special. And it's been an amazing journey.
And because it's amazing what you're doing. I mean, what is the vision for swim then, ultimately?
Ultimately, it's creating swimming pools where we have just swimming lessons for children. So all of our swimming pools, they're created with kids in mind. So everything from the showers being lower, changing rooms, the pool being a lot warmer. So normally, like, you take your kid to the leisure centre and the pool's 28 degrees and they're freezing and they're just stood there shivering, going, I'm so cold. So ours are 31. It's just a safe space. There's no members of the public, because that's the other thing that you have to contend with. The changing room issue, where there's older people and it's just not great for kids to be around all that. And it's just, there's members of the public walking in and out. So again, not very safe, and everything with safeguarding. So we just wanted to make centres that were just safe, secure, nice environments to learn to swim in. And we're currently building our 13th venue. So it feels amazing to kind of be on that. And we do work with schools. We do partner with schools, which are absolutely brilliant because we have to save that pool stock. Like we invest into that school pool. And that's absolutely key because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out most of the swimming pools in the UK were built in the 70s. Like you only have to walk around them to go, oh, they're a bit old, aren't they? They're a bit dingy. Most people have memories of them learning how to swim in those pools, let alone their kids now learning to swim in those pools. So yeah, it's just revitalizing those pools and keeping that pool stock alive as well, because a lot of those pools that were built certainly 60s 70s, they need so much investment. Like there's so much work. Like they are expensive. Like they're expensive to run, they're expensive to fix. Even a part, you think a simple basic part and you're looking at 5-6 grand. Like they're so expensive. So we've got to protect that, and we're really proud to be protecting that with our school pools as well.
Because I mean, there is a statistic, isn't there, that 1 in 4 children in the UK are unable to swim in
I know
secondary.
it's shocking.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's just phenomenal, isn't it?
well, also you kind of think if pools are shutting, where do
Mhm.
people expect them to learn? Like again, it's not rocket science going, well, my local pool's short, so I'm not going to travel 20 miles to another pool. Like it's not going to happen. Schools aren't going to
Mm.
find that time in a school day. I mean, schools are so stretched with their day anyway, let alone then taking extra time to get on a bus, to travel 20 minutes, half an hour, to be in the pool, to travel back. Plus, it's the cost of the transport. And same with parents. You can't expect a parent to come home at 5-6 o'clock at night after being at work all day and trudge 20 miles to take their kid to a swimming lesson. It's not realistic. So I don't see what we're expecting to change in this country unless we have more facilities.
Yeah. And what's been your proudest moment, with Steve, with kind of with swim?
Oh, um, we've been through a lot.
Have
We've
you?
been through a lot. Do you know what? I am going to say, and it wasn't a positive experience at all, but getting through COVID, like it was so challenging, like so challenging, furloughing people and just going through all these dynamics of how do we keep the business, and having to just make decisions about kind of, do we keep charging customers,
Mm.
do we not, all this sort of stuff, which fundamentally we would have lost the business if we didn't make certain decisions. But it was so hard because we were all navigating the unknown, weren't we? Like every single person was in the same boat, and it was so frustrating. They opened up pubs before swimming pools and all this sort of stuff, and you just felt like, how can we prioritize a beer over mental and physical health? I just don't get it. But it was so challenging, and I know that's a bit of a backwards thing to be proud of, but just getting through that and rallying together and coming out the other side when so many people lost their businesses, like so many, it was just devastating to speak to people, to kind of just hear just the way that the industry was, and even other industries, to be fair. I mean, you couldn't escape it, could you? So many people lost their businesses and their livelihoods and their jobs, and it was just a heartbreaking time. So the fact that we survived it was just pretty special, to be honest.
And have you found people a difference, pre-COVID to now? I mean, in terms of the way they are with kind of their approach to swimming and kind of exercise and things?
We certainly saw a boom straight after, of people really truly
Mm.
going, oh my gosh, this is a life skill. And I think it stuck like that, going, oh my gosh, my kids are really fundamental, because the kids were older learning. So I think they realized that the impact and the importance a lot. I do think it's gone back. People
Yeah.
have forgotten that now. And certainly those that have 2-3 year old kid, they don't associate that COVID period. So it's kind of, the mentality has gone back a little bit to, oh, it's just a sport, rather than seeing it as a life skill. But at the same time, I think we've kind of seen the cycle of those older kids. It has gone back to more 3-4-year-olds learning. After COVID, they were more 5 or 6 because they had to stop lessons for pretty much 2 years. Whereas now we have seen that more and more people are going back to teaching their kids at 3 or 4 years of age, which is absolutely what they should be doing. So it's better, and it is absolutely better that they're teaching their kids younger rather than 6 or 7 or 8, etc. I mean, you can still learn, of course you can, but it is better that the younger they are, because there's dangers everywhere, isn't there, with water? So yeah.
And in terms of, like, what have you learned along the way in terms of, I mean, because you've been through so many different things, haven't you? Kind of, I'm a celeb, as you say, jump, all that kind of stuff, being an Olympic champion, not being, well, you know what I mean, after being an Olympic champion, having your own business, go through COVID. What has Becky Adlington kind of learned? What have you learned about yourself in all of this?
Oh gosh, so much. I wouldn't even recognize myself if I looked at myself in my 20s. Like I genuinely, I'm such a totally different person. I mean, the biggest change has been a mum. Like I've absolutely changed me as a person just from being a mum, because I went from doing something in Olympic sport that is very selfish. It is like, you can't hide from that. You have to be selfish to be an Olympic sports person, just because everything evolves around you and your performance. And then you become a mum and you go smack bang to the bottom of the list. And it's just that shift absolutely changes you as a person. It made me softer. It made me have a different perspective on life. It changes your priorities, changes what's important to you. You realize how important health and relationships are. I think before I had kids, I probably cared a little bit more about the way I looked, or what people thought of me and all that sort of stuff. Whereas when you have kids, I just absolutely let all that go, because I was just like, that's just not important. Like, it's just not important. I'd rather people remembered me from being, oh, that, she was nice, rather than, oh, she looked good, and all that. Of course you're going to. So that definitely shifted. And being part of business, it's definitely grown my confidence a lot, which I know sounds a bizarre thing, because everybody probably thinks, oh God, you're really confident. You're an Olympic champion. Of course you're going to be confident. But in business, I really wasn't. Like in business, it was like, I felt like I hadn't even been to university or anything like that. And I stepped into business going, oh gosh, people are going to like think, what does she know? Just because I'm Olympic champion means nothing. I've got no education, no background of understanding the fundamentals of business. And I massively let that affect me for the first like kind of couple of years. And then I kind of grew into my own, going, okay, there's so many skills from sport I can transfer into business. And there is so many skills that, yes, I didn't go to uni, but that I can still apply. Like I can still give everything to the business. I'm still very dedicated, very passionate, and very driven. I'm a hard worker. Like I don't shy away from hard work. And actually, they're brilliant skills to have in business. And I think that definitely kind of grew my confidence in that sense. Like, don't get me wrong, I feel like you're forever learning. And I'd probably say the same thing if you asked me in my late 40s. That question, I'd be like, oh, well, I don't recognize myself in my 30s. So it's forever ongoing, isn't it? You're forever learning and you're forever changing, because your life just completely adapts to where you are in that phase of life. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I don't regret anything, even the tough times and whatever. I'm not the type of person that lives with regrets. I think you learn from those tough times and those hard times. I think you learn more from them.
And because you talked about imposter syndrome, haven't you? I was just the girl who swam. Is that not as prevalent as it used to be? Because I know you used to have those doubts, didn't you? I mean, are you now, because you're a mum, you've done business, you're like, yeah, I can do this. I've got this.
I think there's always an element of that there. I've never met somebody that is 100% secure with who they are. I think we all have insecurities. That's life, isn't it? That's being a human being. Every single person has a bit of an insecurity in some way, shape, or form, or even just little things. I come out of a meeting and I think, oh, I could have handled that a little bit better, or could have approached that a little bit differently. Even though overall I'm more confident, there's always that, because you're forever Like you have to be more adaptable. The landscape has changed now. Young people coming into our workforce, it's different. People are more purpose driven, which I absolutely love, but it's different. And it fundamentally, loads of stuff has changed just from life. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's got anxiety about everything nowadays. So yeah, it's one of those that I think you just learn to just live with it, I guess. I think definitely as I've got older, I've definitely just gone, well, that's okay. Like, whereas in my 20s, I probably would have really overthought something, really let it knock my confidence, really doubt myself, etc., etc. Whereas you come to just accept a lot more. And certainly with kids as well, because you come home from work and you might think something going, oh, that was a bit of a rough day. Your kids don't care when you get in the door, do they? They're like, Mum, what's for tea? What's this and what's that? And then it's like you forget work existed because your kids are just being kids with you. They don't care that you've had a rough day. They're just like, Mummy, can I show you this? Can I show you that? And you're like, yeah, of course. And it just drifts away.
Lovely. And what advice would you give to people, maybe not necessarily young, but people who may be starting out in a sporting career or just trying to get a work, or what advice would you give people?
Um, I'd say trust your gut. I think a
Wow.
lot of people now, I don't know, I just think you don't hear people talking about trusting their gut a lot more and just something feeling a bit off. And I think that's taken me quite far when something doesn't feel right. And if I get a bit of a feeling, I'm like, I've got to explore this feeling because I'll figure it out what it is. Even if you're not sure at the start, you've kind of got to just uncover what it is that you're feeling about that just to be able to move forward. And I think trusting your gut is such a key part of understanding who you are, of having confidence in who you are, and the ability to make decisions comes from trusting your own gut as well. Somebody could tell me a million and one facts, but if my gut's telling me no, I'll still say no. Like it does count for a lot because you've got to live with that decision, right? So if you trust your gut, you go, you know what, I made the right decision. That's all that matters. So
That's
yeah,
brilliant.
I think I would definitely say that with a lot of athletes, and it can be applied to anything: new parents, business, sport. Just trust your gut. You'll know what feels right for you because everyone's individual. There's not one team better than another. There's not one parent better than another. You've just all got to navigate your own unique experience.
That's brilliant. And what gives you hope right now? Because the world's, you kind of maybe not in the best place in certain places. So, what gives Becky Adlington hope at the moment?
Um, it sounds a bit cheesy and a bit cliche, but kind of kindness. I feel
Mm,
like when you get um human connections with people and those relationships, like relationships are so key, like health and relationships are my two biggest things in life. And actually being around kind people and surrounding yourself with kind people, I'm not bothered about if they're successful, I'm not bothered about if you're rich, I'm not bothered about what you look like, I'm not bothered about any of that.
mm.
But I love being around really good hearted kind people, and I think it just gives you hope that everything in the world is okay, especially when it doesn't feel like it at times. I think being surrounding yourself with good
Brilliant.
hearted people, you just go, everything will be fine. Because like I know my kids are loved, I know everybody is loved and cared about, and that's the most important thing.
Oh, that's amazing. That's lovely. So, what one thing do you wish you had known when you were 20?
Ooh, oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to say a weird one, but bear with me. I think it's when you're in your late teens and in your 20s, everyone, especially certainly being a woman, it's that generation was like, oh, that's the time to have kids and everything. And that's, oh, don't get pregnant and all this sort of stuff. And actually, you get into your 30s, and I've had such a struggle and a journey with fertility and miscarriages and everything else. Nobody really prepares you,
Wow.
and they can't. But I think when you're younger, everything is, you're going to get pregnant so easy and so this, and everything's just going to be fine. And then you get into your 30s and it's not. And you go, why has everyone lied to me for for years of your life and everything else? So I think it's that education, a better education around a woman's body. Even as a woman, I don't think we are taught in school around periods, fertility, menopause, like, and I fundamentally believe, because I am one of those, like, and I'm sure it's the same with men, but women do not know enough about their own body and the way it works. And I wish I had been told more of that, and educated a lot more on that, because you have to find it and you have to go online and search for it yourself. And I think whenever you're searching for anything online, it can become a bit of a minefield and it becomes very daunting and scary. Whereas actually, if we're taught from a earlier age about your body, like my daughter's 10, and she was like, oh mummy, we're learning about puberty. And I was like, all right. And I was interested to just hear what she was going to say about it. I was like, well, what about it? And she went, well, we're just learning that it happens. And I was like, right. And I was like, is it not important to understand why it happens and what involves in it and how you're going to feel, and everything happens at different, and it's like, it's so hard because that isn't there. So I think, like, I wish I'd known more about the female body and my own body, and I've kind of had to learn that in my 30s, and I feel really silly for saying that out loud, but I just wish I knew more in my 20s and possibly younger on my body, so I could have helped it a lot more and done the right things, and et cetera, et cetera. Just, yeah, that education piece I think has been missing. So sorry, that was a weird answer, but that is.
But it's a brilliant answer, because I mean, we get a certificate in maths or English or whatever, don't we? But we don't get a certificate in how to be a woman or a man or a human being or whatever. And that piece of education, that piece of learning is vital, isn't it?
Absolutely. And especially as you get older, because I can't remember anything of my maths from school, but I've needed to know about my body for years. So absolutely. It's so vital.
And if you could use one word to describe yourself, what would it be?
Oh, throwing all the difficult ones at me today. I am who I like, genuine.
Wow. Brilliant.
Like, I feel like I am just who I am. And yeah, you might not like me, but I'm just who I am. I can't be anyone else.
Brilliant. And is there anything else you would like to add, to say to people before you have your third baby?
Thanks. No, just keep just keep being kind. I think that's the most important thing. You just never realize how much you can affect somebody's day by just being like, hey, yeah, how are you? Or simple things like that. We don't have to overcomplicate things. We're quite simple creatures, human beings. And sometimes it's just a hug, a simple, how are you? A simple conversation can just, make the world a difference.
That's beautiful. Becky Adlington OBE, thank you very much indeed for your time.
No problem.
Thanks, Becky.